Da, 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 da. Welcome to Disenfranchised, the one where we explain disenfranchised grief through friends. I'm Karen Belinsky Matheson from The Naked Grief, here with Melissa Bishop of Wholehearted Studio. Thanks for being part of the broadcast today, Melissa.
You're welcome. As Karen said, I'm Melissa Bishop of Wholehearted Studio. Today we're using cinema therapy to explore grief, loss, and the invisible pain we carry through the lens of friends. Because sometimes the people we watch on TV teach us more about ourselves than we expected. Karen, before we get started, why don't you give us a synopsis of what's going on in this episode?
Yeah, so this is actually a lot in this episode. This is episode 16, part 1, the one with 2 parts that we're calling The Day Two Worlds Collide. In this episode, we are made aware that the Friends universe isn't as big as it could feel because it overlaps with Mad About You when Chandler and Joey walk into the restaurant Riffs and see Ursula. And that's a whole thing. We also get introduced to 2 of the young doctors from ER. And Chandler's new promotion has him in a uncomfortable spot where he is supposed to be firing one of his hot employees. And Ross is struggling with the parenting aspects of learning the stages of the Lamaze class, having to figure out what his role is as the sperm donor while sharing the role with his ex-wife's current partner. And he's starting to feel very left out of the mix until his ex-wife gets called away for an emergency and Ross and her new partner have to flip to see who's going to play the role of the mummy in Lamaze. So that's an interesting little thing too. And then we've got a lot of tension between Joey and Phoebe because of him wanting to date Ursula, who he thinks is hotter than Phoebe.
And they're twins.
Identical. And then Rachel and Monica have a big old fight about taking the Christmas lights down, and that leads to the following episode in a crazy spiral. And Marcel has a little bit more of a part in this one. He's a monkey, by the way, for anybody that doesn't remember. He switches the TV to Spanish and begins just being a little bit peskier and challenging than before. So, all fun things. So the theme is collision, consequences, and the grief of choices made. It's what happens when 2 worlds collide, when professional and personal blur, when you're forced to choose between your job and your integrity, and when you discover someone you love has a secret twin. When you almost fall off a balcony, and the question of collision, a night where boundaries shatter, secrets are revealed, and everyone's world shifts. Shall we start with Chandler?
Yeah, let's start with Chandler and his attractive employee that instead of firing, he asks out. And, of course, his friends are telling him, don't get involved. Chandler dates her anyway. The boss asks why she's not fired, and Chandler says that she's mentally unstable. And strange things begin to happen around Nina, and Nina figures it out, and Chandler confesses, and she's staples her hand to the desk in anger. Like, there's some serious acting out going on there. It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, he says, don't ever tell somebody the truth when have things that could hurt you nearby.
Yeah.
So dealing with the professional betrayal, and keep in mind too, new job, newly promoted.
Yeah.
Dating employees is kind of taboo-ish, probably not well accepted through HR. So yeah, that's just bad all the way around. And then lying about her mental health on top of it, so not cool.
Yeah, that's really a significant part of this. That's, if you have to accept responsibility for yourself, folks. I mean, that's not okay. And then this is about like how one lie leads to another and creates a web of deception. So honesty is always better.
Yeah, because it starts with him calling her into the office ready to fire her. And then he realizes he can't. He's going, Nina, so Nina. And instead of just saying, you're fired, it's, want to go out to dinner with me? And that's just bad, because again, HR, like, how do you say no to the boss man? You don't, even if you're not attracted to them. You say yes because you don't want to jeopardize your job.
Correct.
And especially in the 90s, maybe it's a little different nowadays. I don't know. I'm not in the corporate world anymore. But it's different. And then his boss keeps asking, like, why is she still here? Why is she still here? And I did fire her, sir, but she's crazy. She doesn't remember having that conversation at all. And yeah, so the coaching insights would be to help Chandler realize that the choices that he made were not the right way to go about things. You can't control attraction, but you can control your choices. Lying to cover up one mistake just creates more. Betrayal has consequences, and humiliation is a form of grief. So while he was kind of humiliating himself by making these bad choices because he didn't want to hurt her, he also humiliated her in the process, which causes her to act out and staple his hand to the desk. So it's awkward on all parts. So if you're true to yourself from the beginning and honoring your role in your job and respecting what that looks like, and not thinking with other parts of you, it would probably just have not been as bad. She still may have gotten her feelings hurt, and she still may have reacted by stapling his hand to the desk when he fired her, but that probably wouldn't have happened.
No, I mean, there was some gaslighting going on in this, because he's like trying to portray her as being unstable. And when people say things about you, sometimes you start to believe them. You know, she trusted him and he violated her trust. I think that when she stapled his hand, it was a form of her taking her power back.
Oh, absolutely. How often have we wanted to do that to somebody?
I wanted to do that. Yeah, so, stand up for yourself, maybe not physically, but with words, try to find ways to handle situations appropriately. Yeah.
Right. And then moving into Ross. So we've got the Lamaze class, and we've got the new dynamic trio. We've got Carol, her new partner, Susan, and Ross, the baby daddy, or as he sometimes puts it, the sperm donor. And how that whole dynamic plays out. So we've got anticipatory grief for Ross, grieving the life that he's about to have or not have, because his role as a dad is not going to look the way his own dads did.
Right.
The fear of inadequacy, because he's just not feeling like he's ready to be a dad. Existential grief, becoming a parent is forever and it changes everything, and Carol's never going away. But then he also has secondary grief, because Carol's going through all of those same fears, and he's grieving her fears too.
Yeah, so, I mean, the common theme here is, right, that it's okay to have anticipatory grief about parenthood, because it's real and it's valid. And you can have that with any type of situation that's new to you. He has a fear of inadequacy, and really worried about how he's going to parent, not being a regular parent. And it's kind of but the way he thought he was going to be a parent, that isn't what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, Carol watches that labor video though and freaks out. She's like, the baby can just stay in. And then Susan scares both her and Ross and says, yeah, but this is forever. And they're like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
We're not together anymore for a reason. But the pivotal moment of growth is when Carol and Susan realize They're about to become parents forever, and even though it's scary, it's also exciting, and that also kind of ignites Ross into feeling a little bit more on board with things. But more comes into part 2 with Marcel, which really helps round out this whole story. So moving back to Joey, because Joey and Chandler go to Riff's for food, or maybe ironically coffee, because they're on the other side of town, and they see who they think is Phoebe, only to discover that it's Ursula, who looks like Phoebe, but it's a little less there in the head at times. She's extremely flighty. She gets every order wrong, doesn't remember that she's gone up to a table already, things like that. But Joey thinks she is the most beautiful person he's ever seen.
And this kind of hurts Phoebe's feelings a little bit, because they're identical twins. You know, and Phoebe's thinking, well, you never looked at me that way.
Right. Right. And but Joey is smart enough to ask Phoebe for permission. I want to make sure that it's okay that I ask her out. And Phoebe originally is fine with it until she's not. And then she has to go back to Joey and be like, yeah, I'm not good with this anymore. But by the time she's not good with it anymore, they've already gotten intimate, and that's cross lines. That's made it harder. Like, you don't show a kid a candy bar and then say, now you can't have it. And once you've opened that door, that blurs things, because I think that's where Joey kind of stands when Phoebe finally confronts him. He's like, but if you'd have told me this from the get-go, I would have respected you. But now I know your sister, and I don't want to stop knowing her until it comes down to the ultimate choice.
Yeah. And one of the things that happens here is, and you don't see this often in Friends, but it did happen in this episode, where they minimized her fears. Didn't really validate them as much as they could have. And now, hey, twins' relationships are complicated and can be a source of grief in themselves. And to follow your intuition, folks, because it's often right on. Like, she knew that something had already happened, and her friends kept telling her no, it hadn't. So then she had this like reality check that really smacked her in the face, even though in her heart she knew.
Well, it happened. The friends weren't completely wrong. She shows up to talk to Joey, and Ursula answers the door in his button-down shirt.
Yeah.
So they had just finished. So she wasn't completely off base. Had she come by a couple hours earlier, it could have been a completely different conversation. But we find out in the next episode how things really get handled and come into play. Or do we just make this a really long episode and do both at once?
You can do both.
Okay. So so then when Phoebe confronts, because Joey misses Phoebe's birthday because it's Ursula's birthday. And he has Phoebe try on the gift that he bought her. Beautiful sweater. And Joey blows Phoebe off to be with Ursula, but Ursula blows Joey off. So Phoebe goes down to Ursula's work at Riff's and says, I brought you something, and she gave her something little. And Ursula says, I got you something too, and gives her the gift that Joey got her. And she said, why aren't you spending time with Joey, and what's going on? And she's like, yeah, him. He's nice, but yeah, I'm done. And I'm not going to tell him. I'm just going to blow him off. Ghost him. Ghosting wasn't a thing in the 90s.
Yeah,
there wasn't a word, but she was ghosting him. So Phoebe puts on the sweater that Joey bought Ursula and goes to the coffee house and politely dumps Joey to give him the closure that he needs. Even though Phoebe's heart was broken because he chose her sister, who she always competed with, who always broke all the things that Phoebe cared about, like her Judy Jetson thermos. And she sucked up her own pain to give her buddy and one of her besties the closure that he needed and deserved. And when when she dumped him, he kissed her one last time and knew wasn't Ursula. And it was so cute. So he goes, the kiss, and then he goes, Phoebe? And she kind of crouches down and she blushes and it's like, yeah. And the look that he had was like, yeah, that was so much better than your sister. He never said that, but that was the vibe you got.
So sweet.
And so even though her grief may not have been completely acknowledged in part one, I feel like in part two, the story unfolds in a way that you really do understand a lot of the challenges that Phoebe didn't get to share in the first part of the episode.
Yeah.
But then in the first episode, Rachel finally listens to Monica whining about the Christmas lights. And in the last 30 seconds of the episode, she gets tangled up in them and falls off the balcony.
Yeah.
And they end up in the ER. And now we're into episode 2. Da 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 da. This is the one. The Day Two Worlds Collided Part 2. Yeah, we didn't get any more creative than they did with the one with 2 parts. So in this episode, it starts with Rachel and Monica in the ER. Rachel saying, I don't have insurance, because she doesn't.
Oh, that's right.
So she uses Monica's, and Monica keeps filling out the forms wrong because she needs to be writing it in her name. And then these 2 cute doctors from ER that are just guest starring because they're not actually at the ER hospital. I think that was in Chicago. Anyway, I mean, George Clooney. I mean, you really can't go wrong with that episode, right? So they start flirting with Rachel and Monica. They seem, quote, normal to them. So after they patch Rachel's sprain up and everything, they agree to go to Monica's for dinner. And Monica and Rachel still have to play the game, the charade game of I am you, you are me.
Oh, that's right.
And they start doing horrible things, like Rachel's dad calls and Monica has to get on the phone and she confesses to using their bed to be with an old boyfriend, and Rachel calls Monica out on a couple things too. I'm Monica and I do this, and I'm Rachel and I do this. So of course they look completely Looney Tunes.
They look crazy to these 2 people.
And these doctors who kept saying they seem normal, now we're thinking, what were we doing? Maybe we should stop trying to date patients. So that's that whole fiasco, and that actually addresses a lot of things regarding friendships. The theme in this one was lies, love, and the grief of becoming who we weren't meant to be, or trying to be your roommate instead of you.
Yeah.
But the consequences of the lie and the fraud and everything else just create too much complexity, and one lie after another just makes it really hard to see straight. And one of the other things that we need to keep in mind too is Monica participating in insurance fraud when Monica is Miss Perfectionist. I do everything by the book.
Yeah.
And here I am lying so that my friend doesn't have to pay a couple $100 for some x-rays and a heavy ER bill.
Right.
There's some embarrassing stuff going on there, and there's a lot of disenfranchised loss and grief because that's not Monica. And that's got to be eaten at her.
Yeah, and it reminds her that her integrity matters to her.
And she does win out in the end because she does eventually make Rachel go back to the hospital and they tell the truth. Oh, but then there's Ross again. Poor Ross.
Poor Ross. Worrying about being a terrible father. He's, going on and on with this with Joey and Chandler. Talking about his father and his fears.
And then his dad says, you know how I knew that I was going to be okay as a dad? Right after you were born, and I went into the nursery to see you, and you grabbed my finger. And that is a pivotal moment because Ross gets to experience that himself later in the episode.
With a monkey.
With a monkey.
Yes, right?
But see, that's what's kind of cool. Like, there've been... Okay, so...
Yeah.
Marcel's screwing up the remote and putting everything into Spanish. And then they're trying to play a game of Scrabble, and all of a sudden, the K's missing. Because Ross is like, that's... I don't know. It was an insane amount of points. And they were like, no, that's not a word because there's no K. And then they look over at Marcel, and he's like trying to grab his throat. And something's clearly not right. He's not choking, but it's lodged.
Right.
So he can breathe, but it's not comfortable. So they go to the nearest hospital they can find, and when they walk in, who's already in the ER waiting room but Monica and Rachel? Nothing like having a family reunion in the middle of the ER waiting room as they're trying to get Marcel seen. And it's a people hospital, so they say it's a people hospital. And they say the nearest vet is too far. Somebody help him. He's like my kid. And one of the doctors that had just realized that Monica and Rachel were cray-cray says, I'll take a look at him. And after they take out 3 letters that he had swallowed,
oh gosh,
they thought he was trying to spell monkey because it was the M, N, and K or something. And Marcel comes through and grabs Ross's finger. And then Ross starts to feel a little bit more like a dad.
Yeah, and realizes that he'll have a bond with his son.
Even if he's not there all the time. And I think, did we cover all of it? All 2 episodes? And about the same time it takes to do one? Oh my word, I think we broke a record, folks.
We did. That's good. Yeah.
So again, this is a night where lies unravel, love is revealed, and a monkey teaches about fatherhood. Everything collides, everything transforms.
So this is the episode where 2 worlds collide and then transform. Lies catch up with you. Love is revealed through sacrifice. A monkey teaches you about fatherhood. And in the aftermath, you realize this is what it means to be human, to make mistakes, to love someone enough to impersonate their twin, to hold a tiny hand and understand forever, to grieve and transform, to collide and then connect, because that's what life is. Collision and connection, over and over again.
So join us next time when we're diving into the one with all the poker, where the friends play poker and we explore competition, vulnerability, and what it means to show your hand, literally and figuratively. Stay with us. Da 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 da.